Right then folks, as promised, this is a video to talk about the fruit machine that I've just built. Quite a few of you in the forum have been asking about it, so here we go. This is the first time I've ever done a video, so if it's a bit shit, apologies. So the machine's made out of 18mm ply, hard faced ply I think they call it, and I've put these silver strips are 18mm car trim. You get it from eBay, it's quite cheap. There's a coin front, Mars coin front. Them buttons, these buttons down the sides with the numbers on, I got them from, I think it was Arcade World or something like that. Those are illuminated buttons. And then alt square buttons, they're from an old fruit machine that I got off a guy off eBay, and then I just redesigned the innards. So these buttons with numbers on, they come blank, and then I just bought numbers from Amazon. You get these sticky numbers, so you strip the number down, stick your doofer on it, and that's you. I've just numbered them 1 to 8 because I didn't know how many numbers I would need for each of the machines, or how many buttons I'd need. And then what I'm going to do is actually on the machine itself, I'm going to actually write number 1, number 2 next to buttons if it's not obvious what they're for. Right, so there's a shelf bit there that's got keyboard and the mouse on it. Okay, I'm just actually installing this machine now in summer house where it's going to end up living. So everything's a bit upside down. I've just had to bloody saw a big chunk out back just so it would fit right up against the socket over there where it's going. I wanted it pushed up against the wall, so I've had to cut a load more out because I'd miscalculated it. Hard to believe I would miscalculate something, but there you go, we're not all perfect. So that's payout slot. I'll show you at the back what we've got. Oh, if you're wondering about the wacky colours, this colour is a kind of ready mix colour that we've got of B&Q because it matches optics over there, and it's got bit of shaky camera work there. Not very good at that, am I? Yeah, Steven Spielberg I'm not, but it's got a glitter pin over the top of it as well. I'll let you see me in the mirror. Alright. Right, so at the back, just have a look. Oh, that's the arcade machine. It's going alongside, so I built that last year. Which is, that's running MAME. So at the back you've got the monitor. It's 27-inch monitor in portrait mode. Obviously back of all the wiring. So each of these buttons has just got a common to it, which switches back to like a keyboard encoder they call it. So essentially you switch the button and it's as though you're pressing a key on the keyboard. So for the start button you're pressing space for MFME, but you can set them all up. And then the other 2 wires to each button is the lamp. So that comes out the pack drive. So you need a pack drive to drive your lamps, and you need an iPack which accepts your keyboard inputs. So what I've done for them is down here, I just made a board which looks really complicated, but it's actually quite simple to put together. I mean, I've had tons of help from Number One Stoney and Wizard and Andy and Reg and Fusion and Guitar and all the lads on the forum in order to get this far. But when you've got all them guys behind you, it is pretty simple putting these things together. So that board there, that's a pack drive. There's 2 of those, so they control the outputs. So they're just flashing lights. And then this board in the middle, that's a controller that controls the hoppers. So that's connected by a serial cable, 9-pin serial. It's got 12 volts to it. 9-pin serial cable to the back of the PC, which is down at the bottom. You can see that serial cable there, the white one. And then it's got 2 ribbon cables at the back because I've got 2 hoppers. And my 2 hoppers are not cash flows, what are they? Come back, no, Ascoyon, I think they call them, Ascoyon hoppers. And I've got pounds and tens. So obviously you could have more than that if you wanted, but pounds and tens covers it all, doesn't it, really? Apart from 2s maybe, if you're into them 2p machines. And then moving along on the control board, right at end over there is the iPack. So that's the thing that takes, I think they call it a keyboard encoder, but basically
that takes the buttons in and converts them, because it's connected by that USB at the end down to the PC. It converts them to actual key presses. So you can just have a common coming out of there to one side of a button. You press the button and that goes back to an input, and then on some software that you run, you basically say, when that input comes on, what key do I want to press? Okay. So from the back of this down here, I've got a 12 volt power supply in the bottom here. I've got some buttons on the side, so that those terminal strips there, those relate to two buttons down here, little buttons. The red button is connected to the PC. I don't know if you can see it. See that there? And all that does is it basically bridges the switch to turn the PC on, so you're not having to reach it back every time you want to turn it on. And then the other button, the black button, that goes to a keyboard input on that keyboard encoder that I showed you. Oh, my hands are terrible. And what that does is I've programmed that to pay out £5. So if you've got no money but you want to do on the machine, you can press that and it chunks out £5, which is like play money, if you like. And then further up, there's another button on the side there. And what that is the shift for the iPad keyboard encoder. So the iPad keyboard encoder gives you 32 inputs, 32 keys, but it also has a shift function. So you can pick one as a shift, and that gives you another set of functionality for each button. So a button does one thing if shift isn't pressed, and it'll do another thing if shift is pressed. So for me, what I'm using that for is if you press shift and you press lower and higher, that cycles through my front end to choose what game you want, and then if you press shift and the start button, that actually starts the game. But I'll show you that in another video, because wife's making me some toast and cheese at the minute, so this is only going to be a quick one. Right, what else? Oh, cash flow. So again, if you're unfamiliar with wiring or anything like that, this is probably going to look like an utter insurmountable nightmare to you, but again, it's straightforward. It's just that my wiring is rubbish, so I didn't have any routing plugs or anything like that for these, so I've had to wire in singles. Now since then, Andy 2003 from the forum has kindly sent me a routing plug, just sent it through the post for me because he knew I was struggling a bit. So I'm going to upgrade these and put them onto a plug, so that if I ever have to send this thing away to get it reprogrammed for coins, then it's a lot easier rather than disconnecting lots and lots of single wires. So there's two plugs. There's a routing plug, which is this one here, and then there's this plug here which controls all your coins going in. Again, I didn't have a Scooby-Doo with this, but number one Stoney stepped in and he sent me all the details. There's a few manuals for it. Again, it's a bit scary when you first read it, but once you get your head around it and you've got a bit of help from the lads, then you'll get your head around that. And I sent a wiring diagram off to someone the other day with this, so it is straightforward. So all those go back into these terminal strips, and then I've just wired them back. So all these are just commons, negatives, which is your coin inhibits. So if you disconnect one of them, I've got this one disconnected, which is a 5p. So if anyone shoves a 5p in the slot, because they're tight as a duck's arse, it'll just drop straight through and back out again. Right, all the other coins I allow. So as for the coins, where they go, again, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a slot at the front there. It's got 4 holes coming out of it. And you essentially, by programming the routing, so in other words, by shorting out a couple of routing pins, what you do there is you control which coins drop out of which hole. So for me, I wanted pounds and tens to travel down, come out of separate holes and travel down and come out at the bottom and land in the pound or the 10 hopper. So that's what I set it up for. And then I wanted any other coin that's a valid coin to come out of a different hole and then travel down and then end up coming out. I don't know if you can see that, but it'll end up coming out of the of a pipe there that one at the back, and it'll end up in the payout slot. And then lastly, I wasn't sure where, to be honest, I wasn't sure where they popped out for the rejects. So I bought this big chuggy, like, this was a refueling thing for about £4 off eBay delivered. So essentially, like, it could chuck it out of anywhere. I'm going to catch it within about a 5-mile radius. But what happens with them is they drop down. In fact, that's your rejects. So they drop down, and then again they go down into that. I've got wrong there. Hold up. This one is the one that rejects, so that goes down to the payout slot. Sorry. And then the other one, which was any other coin, what that does is comes down here and ends up in one of wife's Tupperware boxes there. So you can see, like, the stuff that goes in there is 20s, 50s, £2, you know. So valid coins, but ones that aren't a 10 or a pound, because those are getting directed into hopper. The only thing with that cash flow is I've noticed it takes old pounds and new pounds and shoves them out the same hole. So you have to just ban old pounds going in, because obviously otherwise you at some point after October you're gonna get paid in old pounds and they're no longer valid. So I've got the wiring at the bottom. This is the bit I've just had to bloody saw out. Look at this. Sawed that out just so to go over that socket. I've got an extension lead at the back. For holding all these things down, what I've done is I've just got Velcro, that sticky Velcro, and I've glued both sides. So for instance, like my speakers here, you can see I've just got Velcro on bottom, if you can see that. Velcro on bottom, Velcro on there, stick it on. So if you ever needed to, you know, if the speakers ever broke, it should be straightforward to change them, but they're not going to go falling off. I've strapped the monitor with those little eye hooks into wood and then tie wraps. So I've strapped it at the bottom. Son-in-law turned up today, so I managed to lift it out here. I'm not sure there's anything else to tell you really. Oh, wife painted it, because she's the painting department in this house, so she's done a good job. It was that Valspar paint for the black, and then as I said, the orange was the stuff from B&Q. Right, so I'll stop for now, and then I'll come back later and carry on with maybe looking at how it works actually, the software and everything, and seeing it run.